What does a parent do? Because kids 6 years old and 8 years
Yeah,
old have been known to take their own lives to see, hey, is my
yeah,
child okay?
yeah. What parents
Okay.
can do, see your child, hear your child as they are. Kids grow up. Every child is different, and all they want to be seen as they are, to
Right.
be heard as they are, because the children find themselves through how we look at them.
Good morning, Dr. Adashir Mehran. Welcome to the Bookaholic podcast.
Great. Good morning to you, Deirdre. And then I'm so happy to be here. And I read about you, your work, listened to some of your podcasts, and I'm jazzed for us to have a very exciting and energizing conversation. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And I just want to tell the listeners out there that we're going to put a different way of thinking about mental health out there today. I don't think a lot of people know this information. I don't think a lot of people even consider this type of information. But I do think people will be astounded about what they're going to learn today about mental health. Now, here on this channel, one of the reasons why I wanted you to be a guest is because since May of maybe 2021, which is May is Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yep.
I have been doing a whole playlist about mental health awareness because it
Yep.
really is at the forefront of a condition that's
Hmm.
going on with millions of Americans. So you can hear people when they talk about self-care. You can see it with the commercials on TV promoting medications that will help out with depression. There's a lot of things out there.
Hmm.
So we want to give a full rounded picture of mental health. And, this just may be another avenue to wellness. Knowing
Hmm.
about what you're going to speak on today, could help people. Now, before we delve into the subject matter, I'm going to give you a moment to toot your own horn and set the stage on
Yep.
why you are an authority of being able to give out this type of information that we're going to explore.
Great. Thank you so much. So let me answer it in three very quick synopses. One is I'm a psychologist, and I went to Columbia University, doctor in psychology, psychoanalysis, behavioral research, and multiple credentials, four masters. And so I've been studying psychology for a long time and mental health
Mhm.
with the key focus. Why is mental health so hard to treat? People who are in the space, they know it's common. You go to therapist weeks after weeks, year after year, you take medication, but whether it's anxiety, depression, ADHD, they linger.
Mhm.
And we come to accept that. And I do not accept that. What I'm here to share with you, actually, we are not solving the right problem. So for 30 plus years, I've been studying mental health. And even the term mental health, scientifically, it's incorrect. Mental health, mental illness, because the term mental means happens in our head and brain.
Mhm.
We know from emerging research of neurology coming from pain clinic, from veteran affairs hospitals or trauma centers, emotional health, well-being is our entire human body.
Okay.
Why? So even the term, we go to doctors, we get medication to balance our hormones and brain chemical. We think is in our brain. It's not. So you need to reset the body of the person, which I will talk about it. So the reason also I knew this works, as a psychologist, I grapple with depression and anxiety, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, and you come to accept it.
Mhm.
What I learned that actually emotional struggles are consequences, are not causes. They will not go away by trying to manage the symptoms, which most of the therapies these days focus on that. When you go to see what is going on with the person, that's where healing happens.
Ah,
And then if I netted that, if you're depressed, and I will talk about why depression among all the so-called mental illnesses, what is depression is basically means there's some basic human experiences, emotional experiences that you didn't get to have them or have them in a way that was fulfilling to you.
ah,
Opposite of depression is not happiness, is fulfillment. And my work shows you there are some 7 basic elements of human fulfillment. Once you know it,
mm-hmm,
it's almost like you take your car to a shop. A good mechanic knows this the engine, is the battery, electrical, or so on. Once you know what are your emotional needs are,
mm-hmm.
how well they are fulfilled, begin to fulfill them, you will see your depression not only goes lower, it dissipates. It turns to
Wow.
energy. So I'm here to tell people don't suffer. The title of my book is You're Not Depressed, You're Unfinished.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Go
Yes.
finish your work, go finish your life, go finish the things you're supposed to do, and just witness your depression and anxiety morph and dissipate.
Got you. Okay, so now here we go. Let me read out a few statistics from NAMI, which is the National Alliance on
Mhm.
Mental Illness. Here's some fast facts that they have on their website, www.nami.org. 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 20 US adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 6 US youth aged 6 through 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14 and 75% by age 24. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14.
Yeah,
Now, those are some fast facts from NAMI.
yeah,
Now, before we go on,
yeah.
you're not saying necessarily that all instances of mental illness are unfinished works in your life. But so what portions are you saying? You're not saying, you're saying depression as opposed to being schizophrenic or suicidal. Can you explain that to the people
Wonderful,
so they
wonderful. Yeah,
know and be able to separate what exactly you are speaking of?
correct. Thank you so much. So actually, the statistic you mentioned is the on the more conservative side. So
Oh,
most of my work, I've been in a corporate environment working with professionals, senior professionals, executives, high achievers, entrepreneur founders. When you work with those individuals, their rate of depression, anxiety, bipolar, ADHD, substance abuse, suicide is 2 to 3 times higher than that statistics.
wow.
So there's a segment of silent people who suffer in silence in that
Yes.
population. And then
Yes.
so success masks struggle. People put a
Yes.
smile on their faces, but deep down they're hurting.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
to your point, I get this question all the time. To what extent is biological, chemical, mental illness, emotional struggle, including the schizophrenia?
Right.
What we know from research, the field of mental health, it is not a unanimous, everybody agrees on all dimensions. So since about 1990s, there's a whole body of research comes up that shows actually the whole element of neuroplasticity. When you're emotionally struggling and
Mm-hmm.
you're not healing your emotions, living a healthier, happy, more active life, your brain chemistry, your brain cellular structure actually deteriorates, shapes based upon how you are. When you're depressed, clinically depressed, when you're a schizophrenia, body actually start to break down and relates to the way you operate.
Mhm.
When people start to move to a different environment, different home, they get more support, get more connection, get more acceptance, feeling more safe. You see brain chemistry start to change. You see
Mhm.
schizophrenia start to level out and gradually dissipate.
Mm.
So there's a whole notion coming from traditional psychiatry: heal the brain, the person will be fixed. We know that actually is partially true because some of those mental illnesses last a long time. So we come to accept is the person is genetic. From other part of research shows actually it's not the case. Change the environment. Depression, including to schizophrenia, it comes down and the person heals a lot. So people who are in this field, they know it. That not just within the person, it's the environment in which the people live. And then the work that I do, why I focus on depression and anxiety, what my work shows, and there are multiple people in this space, depression at its core is about sense of loss, grieving, and longing, a sense that there are things missing in your life.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
It-
now let me put a pin right there
Mhm.
because this is running through my mind. Now, first, let me just say before I voice these people's names, we are not speaking on behalf of these people that I'm getting ready to name because they came to TV and other media and their stories have been told. That is why I am selecting them for this conversation. So, in the last maybe year to a year and a half, we lost talented and beautiful, I thought, Naomi Judd, talented Twitch, who was the musical director and the Ellen DeGeneres show. You
Yeah,
know, you look at those two figures and you're like, well, Naomi Judd, she was a country superstar with her daughter all those years. And as an older woman, she took her life according to her daughter's statements. Then Twitch, you know, he was so talented. I would watch
yeah,
him occasionally on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He was so talented. He could dance. He apparently a DJ. He had a wife and
yeah,
kids, and he and his wife would dance on social media. And then when he took his life, it was just so unbelievable.
yeah, yeah,
Nobody could understand it. You know, we're just the audience looking
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
But, you know, but you're possibly saying that these people, even though they had all this fame,
Yeah, yeah.
still there was some type of deep loss.
That D plus. So thank you, Andy. Like, Robin Williams. I live in San Francisco.
Yes,
Robin Williams is
yes.
a
Kate
community.
Spade.
Exactly, Kate Spade. And so let me describe when I went through my dark depression. I was close in 2012 to suicide. Here's the
Oh,
part. I was a key executive, getting promoted, making good money, a role model. My team was getting larger and larger, getting in front of the board member, presenting. I had a smile on my face, life of the party. Deep down, I was dying.
mm,
Depression in people you talk about, Naomi Judge, we see people smiling, looking great. We think they are great. We
mhm,
don't know what's going on in their heart. So the
right.
journey to depression, and I talk about this in my book, there's a chapter called Broken Heart, Not Broken Mind, a
Mm,
primer on depression and anxiety. And I talk about how coming to 20th century, we started to medicalize depression in trying to fix the brain versus see the person. So this is the way that the road from health to depression happens. Depression is not a binary, you have it, you don't have it. There is a gradation, there's a progression. It starts like this, that we go through life and loss of something happen. Your car get rear-ended, earthquake, house burns down, that there are physical things happen you lost.
mhm,
So there's an element of depression and mourning and loss happens that is transitional, that you just get angry, you just feel a sense of loss. What happened to my watch that was taken away from my gunpoint? Our house was a few years ago was broken into, my wife's wedding ring was stolen. So you go
mhm,
through the grief and you will come out of it.
Right.
The next one is the loss of someone, death of a loved one, spouse, a pet, grandparents. You grieve more, but you gradually over time you come out of it. Then there's a loss of fulfillment. Fulfillment, I will talk about, there are 7 dimensions of fulfillment. One of them is sense of belonging, starts
Mm.
at birth, sense of connection, sense of being honored, respected, the role you have, and so on. So I will talk about it. When that the loss of fulfillment happen, we enter a period that life just feels yucky, feels heavy, feels drawn out. And the people, when you talk with them and they trust you, they use the language, someday I will do this, someday this will happen.
Mhm, mhm.
It's okay when I find my next date, when I move to a new house, when I go to a different place. So there's a sense of life enters a waiting period.
Okay.
Then there's a period happen. This is moving to the space of suicide. Then there's a space of loss of self. I'm
Okay.
sorry, loss of agency. Loss of agency is that I have no control over my life anymore. People tell me what to do. I have a role. I'm a spouse. I'm an executive that I'm in this role and I have no way out. Successful people get to the point they're on the pedestal that almost you cannot be the role you have. It's almost like I have no control. I'm doing great. I'm admired, but I feel this is not my life. I start to feel a sense of hollow and like a shadow of me. The last one happens is a loss of self. I don't know even who I am anymore.
Mm.
So when you read interviews with those individuals, the people who are around them, they talk about vibrancy was gone. They were just basically a person moving, sleepwalking through life.
Mhm.
That's when
Mhm.
you lose a sense of agency that I can do anything about it or I cannot find myself. So suicide at that moment is that anywhere but here. This cannot go anywhere longer and I have no way out. That's why people take their lives because they see no way out anymore. And then
Wow.
what is important, everybody misses those signs. Everybody.
Mhm.
So, like in my
Mhm.
community, this is a suburban middle class family. Once or twice a year, high school kid jump in front of the passing train, rush hour
Mm.
train. When you talk to their parents, our kids go to the same school. They realize the signs were there. The
Oh,
signs were there, quiet, recluse, playing football team or varsity, but they feel that this is not right and nobody knew what to do. We don't know when people slide. We see the smiling face, we think they're okay, but they're disconnecting.
right.
We
Right.
don't have that sensitivity. Somebody, and all it takes, somebody says, Ardashir, how are you doing? Are you being seen? Is somebody hearing you? What they are missing is that sense of connection, that somebody sees me, allows me to be me, and not the role, the persona, the wealth, the smile that I have. Somebody sees me as I am, with all my
Right.
mess, crudiness. That will help me to come back and crawl back to health.
Wow. There is a lot in there to unpack. And you did address something that I wanted to speak on as well. When you go to think about, say, teenagers
Yeah,
who adults are saying, well, you're in the safety of our home.
yeah,
You're not going out to have to earn a living. You're not really under any type of pressure because we're your parents. We're protecting you. You live in a home. You don't have to pay any bills. You don't have to go to work. All you have to do is go to school.
yeah,
And I think a lot of parents think about their children as all you got to do is go to school
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and make good grades. And let's say that person does that. I saw a tragic story on the Today Show earlier this year. A young lady, very promising young lady, made A's, was the captain of the volleyball team, was a super sports person, and all of these things. And she had everything going for her, and she took her own life.
yeah, yeah.
And so, and this is kind of to reiterate because you did speak on it, but what does a parent do
Yeah.
What can parents do
Yeah.
right now? What can they take away today
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
talk to their children, whether
Yeah.
teen or not? It could be
Yeah.
younger because kids 6 years old and 8 years
Yeah.
old have been known to take their own lives.
That's right.
What
What
can
can do?
a
Thank you.
parent do, an action that they can do today to see, hey, is my
Yeah.
child okay?
Yeah. Let me get to that point and then back
Okay,
up and tell the story. What parents
okay,
can do, see your child, hear your child as they are. Now, let me describe what it means. 2, 3 times a month, parents in my community, and there are people who follow me in social media, they reach out to me. They typically is about their daughter. And I will ask them, how about your son? Is
right.
about their girl. And their daughter, the stories like this, my daughter is anorexic, or my daughter has ADHD, is doing great, top of the class. But just 3 weeks ago, anorexic high achiever, 17 years old, the senior psychiatrist for medication, senior nutritionist for diet, senior psychologist for treatment, and the mom and dad, and there's one other sibling. When I talked to mom, she was keep using that, be trying to control her life, making her life better, and it's almost like a molding her as if it's a clay. Somewhere around her conversation, I said, "Can I please interrupt you? You're talking about your daughter as if
Mhm.
you're trying to mold something. How well do you know your daughter? What does your daughter really want?" They were grooming her to go to Ivy League school, just like her mom and dad, to be a high achiever. So they
Mhm.
were shaping her to a straight A. You need to look like this. You need to dress like this. How well do you know your daughter? Kids grow up. Every child is different, and all they want to be seen as they are, to
Right,
be heard as they are, because the children find themselves through how we look at them, how we hear them. That's how the brain, the nervous system say that I'm okay because I can figure this out. Mom and dad give me space. Parents with all the love, with all the caring, we're trying to create super fantastic, high achieving future adults. We suck the life and their individuality out of them. They become something they may not want to be. So with
right.
this mother, she went back home. Her daughter for 2 years was struggling with that. She went to her daughter and just hugged her that evening and just said that,
Mm,
sweetie, all the treatment, what makes sense to you? What would health looks like to you? Instead of telling her you need to go see all these clinicians, asking her what would healthy way of life looks like to you, partner with her, be
mhm,
supporting
mhm.
her. So within 2 weeks, she wrote me and said that her daughter started to eat more food.
Mm,
But this is what I told her, that when children with anorexic, they hold back the food, it's almost like a political prisoners that they go on hunger strike. Food is the only thing they have in their control. Their body is the only thing they have.
yes.
They
Wow.
that daughter had no control at home. She was structured. You need to be this way. What children want to claim their space, be me, that is protected, is honored. So, what parents can do, your children, just hearing them, not giving advice. I love give advice. I have a son, and he told me that, Dad, you give too much advice. You don't even know what I think.
Mm,
Just hearing them, letting them experience their world, seeing them, seeing their eyes, they're connected. I have your back. Any way you want to be, any way you want to be, I have your back.
wow.
Once you do that, you create a bond, a connection that is, I'm here for you,
Mhm.
unconditional love. Once you do that, your child will come back,
Oh, wow.
finds the root versus I need to be something like that. It become a
Right,
shadow of a person. That's what
right.
we do. That's what we do for children, and that's what we can do for each other.
Yes. Wow, that was fantastic, and I think a lot of parents out there have and try to structure
Yeah,
children, and that doesn't work. And I bring this up as a funny here in North Carolina, we're passionate about our sports teams,
Yeah.
particularly colleges, because we have UNC Chapel Hill, which
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
graduate from, and it's, we have Duke University. We have all these powerful universities right here in North Carolina. So as a graduate of UNC, my son, applied to UNC Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
He also applied to lots of other colleges across the country. He decided to settle on North Carolina State, which was
Hmm.
our UNC Chapel Hill's adversaries,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, he didn't follow in my footsteps and go to my
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I have many other friends who graduated from UNC Chapel Hill like myself, and nobody's child followed in their footsteps. They selected their own colleges and
Yes.
went
Yeah.
where they wanted to go. And so we've been laughing at that,
Yeah.
but thank goodness, just to use one light
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
our children had their own agency
That's
over
right.
their
That's right.
life and selected what was best for them.
That's right. That's right. So I read about the people who we admire. We think that they are on pedestal. Serena Williams, the sisters, and Michael Jordan.
Right,
They had their parents. They were very demanding, high achieving, but they were there for them. They were there
right,
all the time. Their message that you are great, you're gifted.
right.
Use it. Be the person you are born to be.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
many children go to life, and we know this when they become adult. They say that I'm lonely. They look for mentors. That having a mentor become the best that as you were designed to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like everybody's designed to be something great. Who's seeing you and helping you to step into your greatness versus be great the way I wish you to be. Go to Stanford, go to North Carolina because it's prestigious.
Right.
Every child has a destiny. For us, is
Yes.
to see that, help them explore it, be the person they are meant to be.
Yes, 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 yes. Now, I'm going to bring up another public situation that was very recent. Jada Pinkett Smith, the actress, she was interviewed Friday night, and I learned a lot of things about her. One of her quandaries in life was she was depressed at one time.
Yeah.
And I think, and I don't want to misspeak, that she ended up getting on some type of drug that was formerly, a psychedelic type of drug,
Mhm. Mhm.
but now she has taken that and has never considered suicide ever again.
Yeah.
What say you about that type of situation? I've heard about that type of practice, maybe on 60 Minutes as well. People who had been suffering from depression for years, decades, and they get on these what were psychedelic type drugs,
Yeah.
and that has helped them. What would you say about those
Thank
situations?
you. It's a great question. So, depression, clinically by psychiatrists, American Psychiatric Association, defined as mood disorder. You feel
Hmm.
heavy, your brain gets foggy, you don't have energy, you cannot concentrate. You just feel you go like a cloud of darkness descend upon you. That's brain chemistry basically being imbalanced.
Mm,
Psychedelic helps reduce and rebalance the brain chemistry.
okay.
So your sense of energy, mood changes and it stabilizes it. What it does not do, heal it. Because
Ah,
that's the reason people go on psychedelic or go to antidepressant, they can stay on it for decades.
right.
And
Okay.
then prescription dose can go higher and higher because body build resistance at a certain point. This is a part going, helping to fix it, bring different parts of you out. What is important to know, you will get the same results if you start to exercise in a different way, go to nature, be around the environment that gives you energy. That so psychedelic is basically we as humans left the farms and the fields and the nature came to offices, to rooms. We know sunlight, we sit and zoom all day.
Mhm, mhm,
Wh-
mhm.
what pandemic did, there were people in pandemic, I was in corporate environment, people would call me, say that Artish, at the end of the day, all I did sit and be on Zoom, and my body's aching. I'm feeling foggy. My back is hurting. My stomach is hurting, and I didn't do anything. Instead, actually, what your body's doing as a species, living organization, when we sit immobilized, our body creates low doses of adrenaline and cortisol, because that
Mhm.
an immobilized individual is risky. You can be a prey for a predator. So you creating a stress hormone. Your body's tired because continuously shooting the hormone says, get up, do something.
Right.
So part of that I brought from my corporation, that bring some standing up, everybody move around, do things to bring your body. So you will get the same result with psychedelic. Instead of psychedelic, if you go to nature, go for a run, go for a swim, go hug
Mhm.
a tree, go, like I have a golden retriever, I go run with her.
Mhm.
Once you do that, that does the same thing for your brain chemistry.
Oh, wow.
So we are creature of nature connectedness. Depression is about disconnection. We are disconnected to our body, to our emotional need. By medication basically is substitution. The same thing with alcohol. We think addiction is an illness. Addiction is a substitution for disconnection. We're trying to numb ourselves.
Yes.
So go
Yeah.
back, that whole emotional needs, create a connection to your core, and depression changes, morphs, and becomes energy.
Got you. That's so, again, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
And this is an episode to where I think people may have to listen to it twice to really get it, because a lot of what you're saying, I can see what you're saying, and it seems very true. I really appreciate this clarification.
You bet.
Now,
You bet.
let's switch over to the Bill of Emotional
Right.
Rights.
Yes.
And you're saying you can claim your emotions Bill of Rights to heal
Yeah.
and grow. I'm just going to name them, and you can just go over a few of them, because we
Yeah.
certainly want people to pick up your book and
Yep.
read
Yep.
this in detail. So there is an I am, I soar, I matter, I belong, I make, I am boundless, I am complete.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow,
Th-
that's very deep. What would
That's
you
a,
say about your Bill of Emotional
yeah.
Rights?
Thank you. First, let me describe how I discovered them. They've been around us forever. When you go to Old Testament, New Testament, Greek, Roman, that right now ask anybody, including psychologists, what does it mean to be emotionally healthy?
Mm-hmm.
You get a smorgasbord of responses. But ask somebody, what does it mean to emotionally ill? You get the very vast body of knowledge: depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive. We don't have, there's a scientific gap. What does it mean to be emotionally healthy?
Mm-hmm.
We have a bit of Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs and Viktor
Yes.
Frankl about the man's search for meaning. I came across this work when I was doing my clinical training, working with Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital in New York with very severely ill patients, schizophrenia, depressive, drug addict, and so on. And I noticed when people talk with you, if you listened and didn't jump right away to a diagnosis and treatment, when people talked about their pain, their anguish, their hurt, there's a story they tell about things they didn't get, the way they were violated, the homes they didn't have, the love they didn't receive, the hurt was inflicted on them. And you asked more, you realized more or less the story of a person to person, man, woman, ethnicity was the same, that there were
Mm-hmm.
some things they were longing for. That when the people talked about I was abused, what they were saying, that they wanted to be loved, to be held, to have a
Uh-huh.
home. But what they got instead was hurt and abuse. And I started to model this across 30 years with people in corporation, different ethnicity. Then when I worked with them in corporate environment, we people different culture, realized it's the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Different language, different words, but same story, people seeking for something. So let me share with you those one. The way that it starts, I belong happens at birth. This is attachment to mother, to caregiver.
Mhm.
That the way you're
Mhm.
held, the way you cry, and somebody is there to soothe you, to see you, to share the welcome to this world. I'm here. You're welcome. And you start to see yourself and get an image of you being you and developing as a person so you can separate and become independent.
Mhm.
What I just shared with you is for the textbook. Almost everybody, that initial relationship, there's some level of compromising happen. Mom is busy. There are other kids, and you can only get attention to certain point. So people grow up isolated and looking for that initial I'm here and I'm connected and I belong.
Mhm.
What I
Mhm.
suspect happened with those individuals we talked about, they commit suicide. That sense of I belong. People who belong, they don't commit suicide. Those are isolated.
Right.
When I leave this earth, nobody cares. Nobody knows. I'm alone. There's aloneness built from that time of birth and then move through life. The next one comes right after that is the I'm boundless. This is our bodies. We
Mhm.
humans, we in the 20th century, our brain, basically our bodies become like a transport machine to bring our brain to meetings, to conferences, to different cities. We experience and express anything with our entire body. So that's the reason when I do therapy, you see behind me, I have a long office. We do
Mhm.
therapy. People actually, instead of sharing what you do, verbalize, you act it out.
Right.
You, with you, because we know our body emotions are not in our heads, they are in our bodies actually. Our gut,
Mm.
our lungs, our back. So it's really
Right.
expressed in everything, being around nature.
Right.
The next one is I'm boundless, I'm complete. This is interesting. We know from research, you go to therapy, you go to coaching. We spend a lot of time talking about, tell me about your past. What
Mhm.
happened? Where you come from? It is irrelevant. Brain remembers the events, can analyze, can process information. Experience of emotion is in the body, and body only lives in here and now. Going, actually getting what happened to you is not helpful. What is helpful, as you show up, Deirdre, right now, your
Mhm.
entire life is present right now in this
Right.
moment. So if there's energy, there's trauma, there's angst, your body is waiting to close a loop, to do something right now. So by working, releasing the trauma, injury, you can heal the trauma that happened years ago.
Mhm.
So there's a way in here and now that you can do the healing to be complete. Next
Mm.
one is I matter. This is
Mhm.
about you live uptown, you live downtown, you're this ethnicity, you're this nation, and so on. You're on this earth. Dignity, respect, and honor bestowed upon you. We know from research, mass shootings happen in the US.
Right.
These are men, younger men. They're all talk about being invisible. They are not
Yes.
in. So this is about people, and I work in corporate environment. Many times people enter a conference room, nobody turns around and notice them. There are many people invisible. The advice here is whoever you see, grocery store, in your place of worship, down the street, turn around, call their name, look them in the eye, honor them as another person.
Right.
That calms people. That says, I matter. Somebody saw me.
Yes.
I matter. It is such an important experience that we all matter, no matter what differences.
Right.
Next one is I make. This is about the work you do. We know
Mhm.
from Gallup research year after year, anywhere up to two-thirds of people in the workforce, they are disengaged.
Mm.
They have bills to pay, just like me. You have responsibility, kids in college, mortgage. But the work you do, it is not my work. Deep down, something calls you. What you don't realize by doing that, a major fulfillment is withheld.
Mhm.
And we know from
Mhm.
research when you work in a role that you're disengaged, depression and anxiety in those teams spike.
Yes.
So, what I tell people, Lord didn't create you to go suffer a job. You are a capable person. Get up, go find the thing. People say, I don't know where to start. I say that you'll be okay. Go find it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
There's a
Yeah,
fear. Go ahead.
well, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but this struck me very personally. Back in 2005, my husband and I started a home health agency.
Nice.
Now,
Nice.
he's the medical person, he's got the medical experience. I just am a very well organized person and was ideal to be the administrator.
Yeah.
And through the years since 2005, worked to get it up and running and all of these kind of things, the different challenges of getting a business to the point that you really needed to get to earn money and all these types of things. And, I went through all of that. And at the same time, my children were small. So, definitely was balancing children,
Yeah.
balancing the company. And then I guess once my children leveled off to be able to take care of themselves, like be able to take their own showers, eat on
Yeah.
their own. They were growing up and I didn't have to help them with their homework. They could do their homework on their own. And then I realized this company is not mine. It's not of
Yeah.
my goals. Yes, it's a great thing, but was not of my skill set. It was
Yeah.
not of, really anything that I ever sought out to do.
Yeah.
Not knocking it, it has paid the bills and stuff, as you said.
Yeah.
But that's when I decided I'm going to do a podcast.
Wonderful.
That's
Yeah.
when I decided, books have been my lifelong joy ever since I was a child. And
Yeah.
I always had said in the back of my mind, not really saying this out loud to anybody,
Yeah.
I wonder how I could earn a living by
Yeah.
reading books.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always said that to myself. And
Beautiful.
not that I'm per se earning a living by reading books, but
Yeah.
still, this is in the column of what brings me joy.
Yeah.
Reading
Yeah.
books, talking to authors, getting the word out about their books,
Yeah.
So I probably, and I can't recall, but probably a lot of times people don't know they're depressed.
Yeah.
And I was possibly depressed, along the way, like, I was just
Yeah.
wasn't being fulfilled.
That's right. Absolutely. One of the scariest question you can ask people is ask them what makes you come alive. They
Mhm.
don't want it. And I tell them there's a statement by Howard Thurman that says that don't ask what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive.
Yes.
And
Yes.
because once you know what makes you come alive, and each person is different, that's a gift to you. And we're trying to suppress it. I have jobs to do. And those people, they use a statement, someday I will do that. When I retire, when I make the money, when I have this much wealth, so on. You see life slip away. You
Yes.
see life slip away. So is the next is that I am. This is your soul's message. Everybody has a voice, conviction that what you say, is it your belief? Is it your sense of onlyness that you believe in this? Many people hold their voice back. You see it in
Yes.
women that their voice is quiet, monotone, is almost like a little girl. And for men, overshoot, become very boisterous, strong. What is the voice of your conviction that you need to say it for the world to hear you?
Yes.
The last one is I soar.
Mhm.
There's a statement on the wall behind me by Maya Angelou
Mhm.
and says that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you.
Yes.
Everybody has a story. 8 billion people, 8 billion stories.
Yes.
And many people go to their last breath saying that, what was I supposed to do on this earth? You have a story. You find your story, you will break out.
Yes.
Find your story. So these needs together, all of them, create the tapestry of you finding yourself on this earth. Once you do that, mental illness tells you those one or several of them basically are dormant and you're not fully alive. You're meant to be like Californian redwood tree, strong on this earth, deep in the ground,
Mhm.
unshakable. Once we don't have that, mental illness tells that you are not grounded. You are not grounded. Is mental
Right.
illness is a signal of a soul unfound, of a life unlived.
Wow. Dr. Mehran, this has just been an incredible interview. And again, as I say, this is worth listening to a few times. And of course, also picking up a copy of your book. Please tell us where we can find your book. Give
Thank
us
you.
your
Thank you.
social media handles, website.
Thank you. Thank you. You can do a Google search, Ardashir Mehran, www.ardashirmehran.com. You will find me. You can go to my website. My book is on Amazon. You're not depressed. You're unfinished. When it came out in May, I thought my wife will buy a copy and my sister will buy a copy, and I'm done. And then it within a few days became a new release bestseller in multiple categories. And so please read it and read the comments people wrote, people I don't know. They wrote and said how this book saved them. They were contemplating depression and suicide.
Oh,
And when they saw that and said that this book gave them a recipe to crawl and find themselves back again, it's my story. I'm an open source. My mission in life, my wife and I talked about it. I want, if they allow it, to be on my tomb. He
yes.
helped discover cure for depression and ease the suffering of millions. That's the
Ah,
only reason I'm alive. I know that's why I'm alive.
wow. Wow. Dr. Moran, you and I could go on and on and on
I know.
because I am finding my purpose and the reason why I'm here as well. There's a lot more that can be said, but
Yes.
we're going to have to just end it here. This has been a wonderful interview, and we'll certainly have your contact information in the podcast show notes and in the video description box on our YouTube channel.
Thank you so much,
Dr.
Deirdre,
Moran,
and to you
thank
and
you.
your listeners.
Thank you so much. We enjoyed
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.